Before we get into today's show, I want to tell you about a new offering from MD Coaches. Group coaching for physicians is a small, virtual, confidential cohort designed to inspire participants to rediscover personal and professional fulfillment. The next cohort begins on Thursday, October 6th, and runs weekly until November 10th. And you can earn 1 CME credit per session, totaling 6 credits in all. To learn more and to register, visit www.mdcoaches.store. Space is limited, so be sure and register today.
But before you say yes, I think you are crazy not to take this other offer. And I threw the offer right away, and I still don't think I've convinced him that I'm not crazy.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prescription for Success. I'm Dr. Randy Cook, your host for the podcast, which is a production of MD Coaches, providing leadership and executive coaching for physicians by physicians to overcome burnout, transition your career, develop as a leader, or whatever your goal might be. Visit MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com because you're not in this alone. And don't forget, CME credit is available when you listen with us. Just look for CMFI in the show notes to learn how. Our interview today is a little different. From time to time, we like to include special interest guests in our conversations. And today we have financial consultant Chris Gure from Fortress Financial Partners in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's going to talk to us about some of the unique challenges for physicians and their financial planning. So, let's hear the conversation. We have a little bit of a different guest today with us on Prescription for Success. Chris Gure is speaking to us from Raleigh, North Carolina. Chris, it's a great pleasure to have you here, and thanks for joining us today on Prescription for Success.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Cook. I'm excited.
And as I mentioned before, this is a little bit of a different conversation because Chris is not a physician. He is a financial advisor, and I don't think I ever met a physician who couldn't benefit from some financial advice. But before we get into that, Chris, like we do with everybody, we're interested in your path to success. I know you're in Raleigh, North Carolina right now. Are you a North Carolina native?
I'm not. So I actually grew up in Maryland, where I went to high school.
Yeah.
Decided needed a little bit warmer weather, so headed down to your neck of the woods and graduated with a finance undergrad from Auburn University. Please don't hold that against me.
Oh, I wouldn't think of it. I am into Auburn territory as I speak to you. I'm about, I don't know, when you were at Auburn, I don't know if you ever heard of Eclectic, Alabama, but I live on Lake Martin, which you probably did hear of, and I'm only about a 30-minute drive from Auburn.
Oh, we'll have to meet down there next time we go for a game.
Love to see you. So tell me about your experience at Auburn.
I couldn't have asked for anything better. I did the typical Northeastern college recruitment, go into Penn State and those different big schools. Once I stepped foot on campus, I knew this was the place for me. I wasn't going anywhere else.
It is reputed to be among the friendliest campuses in the entire U.S. Did you find it that way?
Absolutely. I know that it's a top 10 prettiest campus as well. And when you factor in places like Pepperdine University, it's amazing that we can hold our own.
Once you found yourself at Auburn, did you really feel at home? You realized that you really wanted to be in the financial world, and you found appropriate mentors and people that you wanted to emulate? Was it that sort of an experience for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Finance has always been what I feel passionate about, and Auburn just reinforced that. I remember having an entrepreneurship professor down there who I think I took every class I could fit that he taught just to be around and listen to him as much as possible. And he said one of the pieces of advice he hears people getting that he disagrees with is, don't do business with your friends. And he said, the only reason to go into business is so that you can only do business with your friends. Like, what a concept.
Yeah, that is sort of a different way of looking at things. So, well, it sounds like you had a good experience at Auburn. And what happened after graduation? Did you have any idea when you got there where you might go after?
No, definitely didn't have any ideas when I was there. But shortly after graduating, I realized if I want to be in this investment management, financial planning world, no one is going to trust a young 20-something out of undergrad with all of their hard-earned money. So better go find the biggest brand name shop I can find to teach me everything they know and let me use their name instead of my own. So I went and worked for Fidelity Investments, primarily on their corporate retirement plan side. Had a great 2.5 years there, won their President's Circle Award, which recognizes you as the top 1% contributor with over 15,000 employees, gives you some great interactions with leadership, and use that opportunity to ask what seemed like a wild question looking back. Asked my boss and my boss's boss, hey, how do you manage your own money? And that's where things started to get a little bit off the rails, because what I heard them saying wasn't what we were telling clients. And that was going to be the end of this job for me.
That's very interesting and very insightful of you. So it sounds like you used that experience a little bit like being in graduate school. It was largely educational for you. Am I getting the right idea?
Yeah, I think it was 6 or 7 months once you took the job that it was classroom training where you are learning the ins and outs of these retirement plan systems. Then you can talk to a client for the first time ever. And then shortly after that, you're pulled back into classroom training to study for your Series 7, 66, any other licenses that you need to give good advice.
So in spite of the fact that it was not a place where you wanted to be forever, sounds like there was some substantial benefit in it for you.
Oh, absolutely. They like to say that they can cram 10 years of experience, the saying 1,000 hours to become an expert, into 1 year, and they're not kidding.
So you must have been working pretty hard.
It was a lot.
But once you decided that that was not your final landing spot, I gather you began to look around for other opportunities. And how did you settle on Fortress Financial Partners?
Yeah, so I really took it as a recruiting event. Winning that award gave me a lot of confidence, and I knew that I could at least get interviews with all the big banks, the big insurance companies, the big investment firms in town. And I wanted to talk to everyone because I didn't know how this business was done outside of Fidelity. And I was going to use this opportunity to figure out whose playbook made the most sense for me and where I wanted to bring all my clients to serve them. And during this process, there was one person who wasn't putting their business card in my pocket. And I said, hey, wait a second. Everyone else wants me to join their team except for you. What gives? And he said, well, I work with all these guys. They're all great guys. But I have my own office and do things my own way. And I said, well, do you mind if I bring my offer letters and my plan for my career trajectory to you to get, some unbiased advice? And he said, if you're willing to wake up early every Monday, the first Monday of every month, I'll have coffee with you and talk through it. And I think it was 4 or 5 months into that, I was about to take a job at another firm. And I just asked him, why haven't you tried to hire me? And he goes, well, I'm not going to pay you that amount of money, but if you do want to work here, I will help you build a business just like I've built my own. I'll mentor you through all the strategies that I use and give you all of the experience I have. You can see how the sausage is made, and we'll see what happens. He goes, but before you say yes, I think you are crazy not to take this other offer. And I threw the offer right away, and I still don't think I've convinced him that I'm not crazy.
Why do you suppose he would have said that? Why would he? What did he think was crazy about you turning down another offer?
A healthy salary and a big brand name make this role a lot easier, especially when I was based in Raleigh at the time. I didn't have a natural network. I had some friends from high school who had gone there, had plenty of contacts and people to call, but you're really starting a business from scratch in this industry. And what do you have to offer someone that everyone else in town doesn't? So it was a lot of work, and you have to really want to do it.
So you apparently found some inspiration in this challenge that you got from the representative for Fortress.
Absolutely. When you find out that he is connected to everyone else in town, everyone wants him to join their team, and he's still going to go out and do it himself, you realize there is some advantage in being independent. And if you can figure out how to take that level of independence and deliver it to your clients so that they have the best offerings, no matter what the field is, inherently someone is going to understand that benefit. They're going to realize it, and they're going to want to work with you instead.
So let's talk a little bit about your business. I know there is Fortress Financial Partners, and there is Fortress Private Ledger, which, as I understand it, Fortress Private Ledger is your territory. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so in the industry, there is Fiduciary Advice, which is known as an RIA. That is Fortress Financial Partners. That's what's on our business card. That is our website. That's what everyone sees our business as. For products and services, people use a broker-dealer, which sits behind the RIA. And generally, that's going to be the large LPL Financials of the world, or the Merrill Lynch's, Morgan Stanley's. To have true independence and our way of interpreting being a fiduciary, we said, we need to go start our own broker-dealer. Not something I recommend doing. Took a lot of time, a lot of legal paperwork, compliance mess, just to be able to do things the way we wanted to do.
Well, it sounds like it's worked out fairly well for you, and I gather that a good many of your clients are, in fact, physicians. And how does that break out for you? Is it mostly physicians, or a pretty broad mix? What have you got?
Yeah, I'd say it took me a couple of years to even realize that over a third of our clients are doctors. And I didn't really even know what that meant until I had years of doing financial planning specifically for doctors and how specific their needs are, and even their expectations of the type of advice they're getting, and the expectations that everyone else has when they think about a doctor's finances.
Do you can you even tell me what do you think makes physicians particularly unique as clients? Maybe unique is not the word, but what seems to set them apart from non-physicians as clients?
When you think of the average career of someone, they graduate college, they have maybe some undergrad debt, but they're going to work from, let's say, just for round numbers, age 25 to normal Social Security age at age 65. 40 full years of their salary to save and invest for their future. When you look at a physician, they have 6 to 8 more years of debt accumulation. So they're starting in a deeper hole than a lot of people realize. And then they go from making almost no money through their 30s to all of a sudden having, a significant 6-figure salary. But at the same time, they generally don't work as long. So the length of their working career is shorter and they have a lot to make up for.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Crow, founder and CEO for MD Coaches. Here on RX for Success, we interview a lot of great medical professionals on how they grew their careers, how they overcame challenges, and how they handle day-to-day work. I really hope you're getting a lot of great information. But if you're looking for an answer to a specific problem, management or administration challenge, or if you're feeling just a bit burnt out, like maybe you chose the wrong career, well, then there's a faster way to get the help you need. No, it's not counseling, it's coaching. RX for Success is produced by MD Coaches, a team of physicians who have been where you are. I know you're used to going it alone, but you don't have to. Get the support you need today. Visit us at mymdcoaches.com to schedule your complimentary consultation. Again, that's mymdcoaches.com, because you're not in this alone.
We'll get back to our interview in just a moment, but right now I want to tell you a little bit about Physician Outlook. If you haven't discovered this remarkable magazine, please do so very soon. It was created by physicians for physicians to showcase the intersection between clinical and non-clinical interests. Whether it's writing, painting, cooking, politics, and dozens of other topics, Physician Outlook gives a physician perspective. It's available online and in print. It's really unique among physician lifestyle magazines. And like the Prescription for Success podcast, Physician Outlook amplifies the voice of any physician who has something to say. It also engages patients who still believe in physician-led, team-based care. And Prescription for Success listeners can get 3 months free when you enter our promo code RX for Success and select the monthly option at checkout. That's a really great deal on this stunning publication. And now let's get back to today's interview. Most of your physician clients, are they really brand new in practice, or have they been at it for a few years?
We have all the way from, medical students that we work with. And that looks a lot different than last year. We helped 3 docs sell their practice and working on how to structure the exit of their business to do as much tax planning on the front end to keep as much money in their pocket as possible.
Has it been apparent to you that the educational debt that is coming along with physicians from the new grads is substantially different from those that finished their training 15 or 20 years ago?
It's one of the crazier things I've ever come across, and inflation is in the news all the time. The only thing that has outpaced every other inflation metric is higher education costs. It's really never been under a double-digit annualized inflation rate. So if you talk to almost any doctor or anyone who has used a doctor, I think you can hear everyone on the same page saying that there's a shortage. It would be great to have more doctors. Imagine trying to recruit someone who's great at science and has an interest in becoming a doctor and saying, here's the deal. You're going to be in $500,000 in debt for the first decade of your working life, working almost around the clock. How does that sound? That's a pretty uphill battle.
Among the physicians that you work with, I'm interested in what's the spread in the professional choices that you see in front of you, or are most? I have an idea that the substantial number of the relatively new grads that you get are employed by big healthcare delivery groups. But how does solo practice and private practice and group practice compare with those employed physicians in terms of numbers, if you have any idea?
I'd say it's actually split pretty evenly 50-50. And the fun thing for us is these doctors who own their own practice or are part of a private group, they have a secondary job as being a business owner. And that opens up the amount of planning and opportunities that we have to work with them on. So it's fun because not only are they a doctor, they're an entrepreneur at the same time.
Have you got any little recipe that you use for how you're going to educate your clients, especially the physicians?
There are so many people in my line of work who want to be the go-to advisor for doctors because people know that generally correlates with having a high salary. We look at anyone as being in three categories. There are the people that are going to always do it themselves, and more power to them. There are the people that want to be shown how to do it, basically point them in the right direction and let them figure it out on their own. And then there's this third group who says, hey, I'm good at this over here. You're good at that. I'm going to hire you to do it for me. That do it for me bucket is really who makes up our clients. But we wanted to figure out a way to give back and serve the other buckets that we can't really help them long term, just from a business perspective. So we started writing this biweekly newsletter, fortressphysicians.com. It's a Substack newsletter where all we do is we take the actual conversations that we're having with clients day in, day out. We anonymize the names, change some of the details, and throw it up into this story type of format so that anyone who wants to be educated on this or even try to think of questions to ask us can go through and look through the archives to think of some of our recipes for financial planning.
Do you think everybody is better off if they forget about their investments and wait for somebody like you to make the call, or would you encourage people to be more closely involved? What do you think?
Fidelity and JP Morgan both have this amazing study that they put out every year. And you can imagine firms that are that large have so much data available to crunch and show the results. And when they look at investment performance, there are two categories of people who have the best investment performance, greater than any other strategy people are using. It's people who forgot their password and can't log in, and sadly, people who are no longer with us who can't touch their account.
Yeah, and it really does work. I was when I knew I was going to do this interview, I looked back at the history of what's been going on in the financial world since I started practice in July of 1980. There have really been, counting this most recent one, which I think we can blame on the pandemic, there have been a total of 5 substantial financial downturns. The biggest one to date was 2007 to 2009, which went over 18 months. But my point in bringing that up is that the financial world does have its ups and downs. And frankly, it has been a great comfort to me to simply let somebody else do the worrying about that. And I would continue to do what I'm good at. And those of us who do that are grateful that there are people like you.
Hindsight is definitely 2020, and trying to show and inform people of those charts and those statistics that generally it's, 8 to 10 years of expansion in the market than 1 to 2 years of contraction. It's a lot easier when, we're sitting in a halfway through a 8-year bull market telling you that, hey, this is going to run its course at some point, versus what are we, a year into a downturn? A little harder to sit on your hands and be okay with doing nothing.
Chris, I've really enjoyed this conversation and learning a little bit more about how things work in the world of financial advising. And I thank you for being here. But at this point, what I'm going to do is get out of your way and let's hear what you came here for, and that is to give us your prescriptions for success. So, audience, I'm going to close my mic, and here is Chris Gure to tell us about his prescriptions for success.
Thanks, Dr. Cook. And I wrote down 4 quick things, and I'll run through them, and then I'll expand on each one a little bit. The 4 rules of success that I brought are: show up, pay attention, ask questions, and don't quit. These might sound obvious and easy to do, but showing up and being part of this conversation is always the hardest thing for anyone to do. In the world we live in today, paying attention is nearly impossible. Our attention span is no more than a few seconds before we need something else to distract ourselves with. Asking questions that may feel a little bit uncomfortable at the time, like asking your financial advisor how they manage their own money, will go a long way in figuring out if this is someone that you can really trust for the long term. And then I've always found that there's a million ways to succeed, but only one way to fail, and that's by quitting. So as long as you don't quit, everything will work itself out in the end. And those are my 4 prescriptions for success.
And a lot of wisdom from a very young man, I might add. And I really appreciate you being here to share that with us, Chris. It's been fun having a conversation with you. Before you go, I do want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience where they can find you.
Yeah, Chris Gure, LinkedIn, and Twitter are where I usually hang out. fortressphysicians.substack.com is where we send out our biweekly newsletter. Then fortressfinancialpartners.com is how to get in touch with us.
And one other thing that I was curious about, are you able to work with clients in all states, or are there restrictions?
Yep, all states. Most of our clients are on the East Coast, but we have people from Florida to California to the Northeast. Wherever they need us, we'll go.
Well, once again, Chris Gure, it's been a pleasure having you with us today, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dr. Cook. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd really appreciate a review from you, and a 5-star rating helps give our podcast much more visibility, and that helps us reach more listeners. You can find exclusive content on our Patreon page, including membership-only material like personal rapid-fire Q&A sessions with our guests. To be sure you never miss an episode, visit our website at rxforsuccesspodcast.com to subscribe. And while you're there, learn how to get CME credit from CMFI just by listening. Special thanks to Ryan Jones, who created and performs our theme music, and also to Craig Clausen of Clausen Solutions Group, who edits the show. And remember, be sure to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.